are there advertisers even interested, which I thought they would be? Is there even people out there over 50 and 60 on YouTube, consuming YouTube? And there are a lot. So the video that I finally published, which was if you're over 40, why you need to start a YouTube channel or something, whatever I called it. I got up that morning and I thought, heck with it. I'm just going to shoot it.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the YouTube Creators Hub podcast, where each and every Friday I sit down with a content creator and interview them and ask them questions about what it takes to succeed, how they make money on YouTube, and so much more. So if you're looking for something that's a little bit more behind the scenes, a peek behind the curtain, this is the podcast for you. You can connect with us, and specifically me, by either hiring me for one-on-one coaching. If you're looking to take your YouTube channel, online business, podcast to the next level, I offer online coaching services. Those will be linked down below. That's one of my favorite things that I get to do each and every week. And then we have something called the Creators Community. It's a mastermind group where we do monthly mastermind calls hosted on Zoom that I host myself. We also have a Discord server that is very active each and every day, talking about all different aspects of YouTube. And I also record exclusive 8 to 15 minute monologue style podcast episodes every single week about a topic around the creator economy, around running an online business, around launching podcast, anything creator centric. I have a dedicated podcast exclusively for those people who support the show. And that's $5. That's it. Less than a Starbucks coffee gets you all of that I just mentioned. And then lastly, for free, we have an email newsletter called the Entrepreneur's Minute. I am starting to build a database and a spreadsheet of everything that has been suggested, or every tool or every book or resource. I'm going to have a spreadsheet that is ongoing. And in order to get that, you just sign up for our email newsletter, the Entrepreneur's Minute. And every Friday, I'll talk about what's going on in my life around the Porter Media business and what I'm doing to grow that and to move the needle. Over 5,000 people have now subscribed to that. We're closing in on 7,500 now, and we just started that email newsletter up at the end of last year. And so there's some real value there. Wherever you listen to your podcast, leave us a review and subscribe to the show so you'll know every time we go live on Friday morning with a new interview. So with all that said, let's go ahead and jump into this week's conversation. Hello and welcome to the conversation on this week's episode of the podcast. I am so excited today to be joined by Kevin Kolbe. Kevin, I discovered a few months ago. I was telling him off air, I needed some information on a video that I was working on, and I stumbled across one of his DaVinci Resolve tutorials and was just super impressed by the quality, the way he presented himself, and just, I could tell this guy had been in media for a while, and as you'll hear, that's definitely the case. So let me tell you a little bit about Kevin. Kevin's creative journey started as a DJ on the radio before getting into TV. He spent over 30 plus years in video production and marketing for Fox, NBC, CBS, and ABC affiliated TV stations, including leading an award-winning creative team for one of the most recognized Fox affiliates in the country. Kevin has worked with national brands, nonprofits, and other content creators around the world, and he now has a very successful YouTube channel that is just about to surpass 100,000 subscribers in not even 500 videos. Kevin, how are you doing today?
I am fantastic, and thank you. And you know what? Even though I wrote that and sent that to you, it feels weird when somebody's reading it back. But yeah, I'd say thanks for the kind words, but I wrote it. So,
I was on a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and I have a lady who is much better at copywriting than I am. It's probably one of my weaker points. I'm trying to really get better at writing, and the newsletter and stuff has helped with that. But she wrote this really great bio. It's like a paragraph, and it sounds very good. It doesn't sound like AI wrote it. It's very natural. There's not many of those words that AI loves to use. And the guy read it, and I'm like you. I was like, wait a minute. I've done all those things, but it just sounds so much better coming from you. But Kevin, I'm super excited to have you today on the Creators Hub podcast. Can you just give my audience kind of the origin story? You could even go back beyond the YouTube channel of your days in mainstream media and then lead up to the YouTube channel.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm just giddy to be here, so thanks. If I gush a lot, then you'll just have to clean off the mic and the screen later. So I grew up wanting to be a lot of things, including a DJ. I wanted to be on radio. When I was a kid, I had a little bitty turntable, and I had a little stack of 45s, which are small records if people don't know what I'm talking about. And I would play DJ in my bedroom and play the records. And flash forward, jump forward to when I started college, I had a chance to get into radio. Small 1,000-watt daytime station, which means that our power fluctuated with when the sun came up and sun came down. And I thought, this is the coolest thing ever. Got a chance to then work for one of the stations I grew up listening to and stayed in radio for several years. And then radio changed where it was less about personality, more about just play songs and read this card. And about that time, I got a chance to be in television. There was a new television group starting where I was from, which was Nashville, Tennessee. So I ended up getting into television as a promotion director. My first job, I had an art director and me, and I knew nothing about television, but that's where I really learned to be on camera, even though I didn't really care to be, editing and everything. And then from there, I just worked at a lot of the stations you mentioned. As we would joke in television, you couldn't hold a job because you would just keep moving and moving. And then years later moved to another city where I eventually became a creative director in television, my last job in television. So over 30 something years in broadcast. And I thought that's what I would do. And then as broadcast started getting more and more consolidated, like so many businesses, my position was finally eliminated, which I knew it was going to be. It's just the way it was going. Great company. They took care of me and I appreciated that. But that was in 2017. And I had started my YouTube channel in, wait for it, 2017. And we used YouTube as a television station, but we did probably what everybody did. We just slapped up our news stories on there and we slapped up our promos and our commercials, and that was about it. So I started my YouTube channel in 2017, January, and that March is when my position was eliminated. And at that point, I had no idea that this is what I would be doing full time. In fact, that year I kept thinking, I'll get back into television. That's what people kept telling me because I was, quote, so good at it. They'll be banging down the door. And I guess they forgot where the door was because the door never knocked. And I applied at 2 or 3 different stations and nothing was happening, a couple of nonprofits. And I remember telling my wife after the last station, I said, if this doesn't happen, because I'm a believer, I said, God's got a different chapter planned. I just don't know what it is yet. Along this time, I had a couple of nonprofits asking me if I could help them do videos for their fundraisers and things like that. One was an adoption foster care agency. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. And so that kind of opened the door to thought, why don't I just be in business for myself? Ironically, I'd already started an LLC back when I worked for the television station. So I had one on paper because I thought, why not? Why not have one? So I changed the name of it a couple of times. So that kind of led me down the path of, I like this. I like creating video. I like creating, but still figuring out what I was going to do. And I was all over the place on YouTube. I wasn't taking it that serious. I was trying to play all the platforms, all the things, because that's what you're supposed to do. That's what we're told. And then in 2020, my channel got audited, reviewed. I say audited, and it freaks people out. They think the IRS came knocking. And it got reviewed during a conference by a couple of the guys at VidIQ. And it was the best thing, Dusty, that could have ever happened. Because some of the things I knew, and when somebody puts the spotlight on you and says, yeah, you look nice, but we can't figure out what your channel's about. That's when all of a sudden I'm like, if I'm going to do this, I really need to get serious. And I would say from that point on, even more in the last year or two, when it's like, I'm just YouTube focused. That's it.
So let's just dive in quickly. When your channel got reviewed by the guys over at VidIQ, I love, by the way, I use VidIQ. I love their outlier feature when you're looking at videos in search that shows you how many X of an outlier that video is for that channel. There's so many great features there. What did they tell you? What was the overarching theme of the advice when the channel got audited?
Yeah, that's a great question. So keep in mind at this point, I was inconsistent. I think probably the 2 or 3 months prior to that, 1 month I'd publish 2 videos, the next month 1, the next month 5. So there wasn't any consistency. And I was just putting everything up there. Like I had worked with a nonprofit on a disaster relief, couple of videos, but then I had created shorter videos for them. And I was just slapping all that up there. And I wasn't really focused on anything I was doing. And even my header banner, I think it was Rob and Travis. And I think Travis said, it's just generic. This is even before AI. So just something just spit it out. It was one of those things that really sounded good. And he was like, they pointed out a couple of videos where I'd been teaching something. And they were like, maybe lean more into, if this is what you're into, is like helping beginners. You appear to be a good teacher, but you're not consistent with it. Thumbnails, titles, just all over the place. And so ironically, coming from promotion and marketing, especially with TV, and we did all the outside media for the station. It's so funny. That was my world, but I couldn't figure it out for myself. So things like that really got me focused on what should it be. I unlisted some videos that just didn't make any sense at all. I didn't delete them. I just unlisted them, made them private, and tried to get a little bit more focused on it. And then from there, I thought, okay, let me lean in a little bit more to search what people were looking for. And that's when I didn't know it at the time that I would have, for the longest time, my biggest video ever was about how to get Final Cut Pro for free, because people were looking for that. I had moved over from Premiere to Final Cut Pro. I had used it for free. And I'm like, well, if other people are asking this question, let me just help them with that.
I love that. And hence, that's where I discovered you, as one of your how-to videos that performs so well in search. And those people who know me, and I'm assuming you know this as well,
Oh, yeah.
my YouTube channel, Think Tutorial, is one of the most, I say this as humbly as I can, but it's one of the more popular technology how-to channels. And long ago, 14, 15 years ago, when I was much younger, had fewer gray hairs and no kids, I started that channel. And since day one, the model of that channel was to perform in search. Now, back then, I wanted to perform well in YouTube search, and little did I know that would evolve to trying to perform well in Google search. And
Yep.
now in 2025, how do I show up in these AI lists that they're producing through ChatGPT? That's just the pivot in how things evolve. And my channel consistently gets 50, 75,000 views every day.
That's great.
And for me, that's just a portion of my business, obviously, with the podcast and the coaching and things like that. So I always encourage people not to put all of their eggs in one basket. When did you know, Kevin, that, hey, I might can do this thing full time? When did you say to your wife, I'm not going to pursue TV stuff anymore. I'm going to just do YouTube?
And it really was after the last TV station that I was talking to them about being a creative director. And I remember over lunch, the general manager who runs the TV station, he and I had gone to lunch a couple of times, and he looked across the table and he said, do you really want to get back into TV? And I said, absolutely. And I didn't. I'm like, I wouldn't mind the benefits, and I think I could just do it easily. And I know that sounds arrogant. I don't mean it that way, but it's something that I love to do. And I don't think he felt I did. And so they gave it to somebody else, which I think turned out right. And I think it was just like, I'm getting opportunities through YouTube. Like, I did a long sponsorship type production deal with StreamYard for months when I had a very small channel. And so later it was like, oh, wait a minute. So you can make some money and make connections and have an impact without having a ginormous channel. So I think it was then where, and I played the other social medias, but I never got any traction. And I think more and more with that. And I'll throw something in from a personal standpoint. So we have 3 kids and our youngest has special needs. So the more I could work at home, from home, on my own schedule became a blessing, because if he needed to go to the hospital or a doctor visit or something like that, I didn't have to tap into PTO or call my boss. And I've always had great bosses. Where I am right now is a former bedroom upstairs in our home that now is outfitted where I can do everything from here. So all of that kind of flowed together, and it's been the best thing that's ever happened.
Your story is very relevant to mine, as far as the studio that I'm in right now has been built out from the ground up, from a bedroom to be where I can do everything. There are pros and cons to that, as I tell everyone. The pros are everything you just mentioned: the flexibility, the ability to come quickly revise or change something at a whim. But the cons are that you never really leave it at home, because your home is your office. And so you have to be a very good steward of your time. And if you have family and kids like both of us do, you having one that requires even more intensive care, it's one of the things to where there are some days I wish I couldn't just walk 5 steps and be in my studio. So there are pros and cons to it. And for you, that really is a blessing and it really works out. So let's talk about your niche, because you did the whole thing with search and you got the VidIQ guys to audit your channel. But here recently, you've made a very large pivot. It was one you emailed me about before we got on this call. Just break it down. Just, I guess the first part of this question is, why did you, what was the pivot? And let's start there.
Yeah. And so I actually call it a refocus, because I'm still talking about some of the same things I was talking about before. Now, I may not dive deeper into some of the tutorials like I did, but it goes back to a couple of years ago. I was on a call with Heather Torres back when she worked with Think Media, and she was writing a book. I don't know if she ever published it. Hope she did. And we were on a call and we got talking, and I don't remember exactly what we were talking about, what sparked it, but she said, Kevin, I really think you ought to lean into your age. And this was at least a couple of years ago, maybe. And I said, yeah, I don't know. And she said, Steve Dotto. And I said, yeah. She said, older, he's leaned into the gray wave thing and it's really worked for him. You've got the experience and yada. And Dusty, I still have the email that I sent her after that saying, really appreciate that. I've wrestled with this. And I think it's just, I'm not comfortable with just talking about age and my age, even though it's never been a thing. And I think because it's never been a thing, I never leaned into it. So that seed was planted by Heather, who I've since then talked to her since the channel's grown. And I'm like, I blame you for this. And then I'd been talking to some other friends who are in the coaching space, some of the same space we are. And one of them said point blank one day, he said, you've got an audience, but you don't have a community. Because at that point, like 95% of my views were coming from non-subscribers. And I thought, you know what? He's right. And I crave community. And I think it was also a lot of prayer and talking to other folks and stuff like that. And I thought my channel was going okay. And it's not just all about the numbers. It's just the deeper impact. And I thought, okay, wait a minute. Are there other people around my age, close to it, maybe that have been downsized or going through family issues, or they're just trying to get started in video? Because I have seen in my life the power that video can be, period. Personally, professionally, I don't know what else there would be, but in between all that. And so I thought, you know what? So I actually did some research and I saw some other videos, people talking to people over 40. And I'm like, and I even talked to a good close friend of mine about over 50. And he said, if you go over 40, you get the over 50s. I'm like, that's true. And so I've only shared this with one or two other people. I kept hemming and hawing. I didn't know. And I also just see who's out there. Are there advertisers even interested? Which I thought they would be. Is there even people out there over 50 and 60 on YouTube, consuming YouTube? And there are a lot. So the video that I finally published, which was, if you're over 40, why you need to start a YouTube channel or something, whatever I called it. I got up that morning and I thought, heck with it. I'm just going to shoot it. And I sat down, set my camera up, and I just rolled. I didn't have any notes. I knew up here and in here what I wanted to talk about. And I just shot it, and I wasn't even going to edit it. I just rolled, but I have a Canon camera that only records for 29 minutes. It stopped. So I was like, okay, I've got to make an edit. So I cut a couple of little things out. And I'm telling you, this is absolute truth. I uploaded it, and I thought, I just don't know if I'm going to release it. I don't know. And even that day, I was telling my wife, I just don't know that I want to publish this. I just don't know. And she's like, just do it. I think she did it because she loves me and she's tired of me talking about it. So I thought, make it public and move on. And I thought, if a few people watch, that's fine. And lo and behold, have no idea how it would completely change my channel, professionally life, personal life, everything. It completely changed everything. And a friend of mine messaged me after that and he goes, I hope you have another video planned.
Yeah, that video now has 640,000 views.
It just blows my mind.
It's 9 months old. it's really encouraging to hear you talk about that. I have a lot of coaching clients that get on calls with me and they're wanting to pivot. They're wanting to change their niche. They're thinking that they're stuck into something forever and they're in the mud and they don't really enjoy it anymore. They're not
Yeah.
passionate about it, or maybe it lacks community like what you're talking about. It's funny hearing you say that. It's the main reason I started this podcast in the group over a decade ago, because my YouTube channel is all search based and I wanted to keep it that way. I enjoy making how-to videos. It's one of the pleasures in my life is being able to educate people. And throughout COVID, I'd have emails from high ups at colleges that I'd never had the ability to get in myself. They'd email me and say, hey, we're using your video tutorial in
so
all
cool.
of our lectures and all of our classes. And it really was encouraging to me. And it really made me realize that what I'm creating matters. It's really helping others. But the community I've fostered around this podcast, there's been whole groups of people go to conferences because of the show together. And,
That's so
and
cool.
those are the things that really matter for me, is the connecting of people. And I think that as a YouTuber, being able to make those changes are scary. So let's talk about the aftermath of that. So you've now since changed.
Yeah.
That video exploded.
Yeah.
What looks differently for you? Like, what is different about the channel?
I think I did several different things. And there was one other thing that I wanted to share too. You mentioned that. So Colin and Samir, I've heard them say before that when they even hit 100,000 subscribers, they were still trying to figure out what they wanted to do. And I'm like, wow. Because I think we believe when somebody hits 100,000, they got it all figured out. And it's no, maybe not. So I wanted to throw that in there too, because I think that was even motivation for, yeah, you know what? I can still change this. I changed the style of how I'm doing things. So I come from a TV background. Everything, every frame we did was like, and sometimes almost committed to death. And then especially if we were doing outside media, because we're basically the agency buying radio commercials and cable and billboards to promote the station. So I came from an extreme production background, love to edit, to where I'm like, I'm trying now to under edit and underproduce, because I can overproduce and overthink anything. And so TV has been good for my background and kind of a hindrance. I changed the strategy in my thumbnails to be what I just call more hyper real. You know, I've taken a frame from the video. I usually shoot most of them on my iPhone, strike a little pose and do it. But I didn't want to do the cut the background out thing anymore. I might do a little YouTuber face occasionally. So I wanted to do that. Titling, which, and I'm not going to say any of these are my strong points at all. I think we're all learning. But I tried to get a little bit more real with the titles. And that's when I actually saw how browse and suggested was a thing I'd always heard about. And now it's, okay, I get that. And longer videos. Not that I necessarily go into a video thinking, okay, it's got to be a long video. I still believe it ought to be as long as it needs to be and as short as it needs to be. But at the same time, I don't worry about it anymore. If I just want to talk about a book or whatever, and even going a little deeper into channels that I've watched and enjoyed that aren't all about maybe video or growth hacks. And I say that with an asterisk because I've had other people reach out very nice and say, hey, you're doing great stuff in the YouTube growth space. And Dusty, I don't see myself as a growth channel expert or guru or anything like that. I would rather tell you how to upload a YouTube thumbnail rather than get more views and do that, because one, I can't promise that. And I think there's too many people that they have a little success and then all of a sudden they become experts. And I would rather just help you even do it. When somebody says, hey, I don't even know how to get a video off my phone, they're not even thinking about CTR and watch time. They're just trying to, how do I get this video off my phone? So that has been the evolution, and the comments have gone way beyond anything I've dreamed of. And I'm sure you've experienced this. Sure, I love it when somebody says, hey, I really appreciate the video. When they write a paragraph, when they share a story, when I start getting emotional reading it, I'm like, dang.
Yeah.
That impact that goes way beyond anything. And so those are changes for the most part. I still try and stick to a schedule. I've missed it a few times. So those are it. I don't batch as much as I tried to before, because I found when I batch too far in advance and I get too far ahead, it's like I haven't driven the stick shift in a year. So I have to go, okay, wait a minute, is it up and then down? No, wait a minute, it's this way. So I typically never get more than a couple of ahead, if even that.
Yeah, when you mentioned the comment section, with this podcast, people go out of their way to not just comment like on Spotify or on the YouTube video or through Apple podcast reviews. They'll find my email, which is easily accessible, and they'll write these just long emails about, I started listening to your show back in late 2023. I didn't have a YouTube channel. I launched a channel. I just now reached 1,000. They'll tell me their whole journey on YouTube, and that is why I do the show. Obviously, it's part of my business. I want to make money. I want to grow my platform, whatever. But those are the things that really keep me, when I'm discouraged, those are the things that propel me to continue on, you know? And so I love to hear you talk about that. Being as good at editing as you are, your videos look so sleek and so good, and you can tell that you've really honed that craft. Give my audience the full breakdown of, let's get in the weeds a little bit. What does a video look like for you from start to finish, from ideation to upload?
I keep all of my ideas for the most part in Apple Notes. It's just where I jot down things. And especially now with the new feature where you can just, the voice memo is built into it. I may just like blab it out if I'm driving or walking. One
of your other very popular videos, by the way, I watched it. I'm a productivity app / note app. It's my toxic trait. I love to tinker around with different productivity tools and figure out what works best for me. That way I can help my clients and things of that nature. But another very popular video of yours. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah. And look, I had no idea. I was playing with it. And honestly, so we can break that one down. So Apple did that on one of the releases. And if you haven't seen the video, please watch it. But it's basically where in Apple Notes now, you can actually record your voice in there and it'll transcribe it. And it's really good. And I thought, you know what? Just do a video on this. Help me. That was the genesis of it. I think I did shoot 5 different thumbnails and I'm like, okay, I'll use that one. But that was it. Did I think it was going to blow up? No. I think we go into it hoping that this will be my next biggest video. But every view is a view, right? Every view is somebody watching it. And so I have ideas and it's like I have video ideas and video done. So if I have an idea, I just jot them down. If I feel like this has a little bit more oomph to it, I'll pin it and come back to it. I don't script, which probably anybody watching my videos are like, yeah, we knew that. I tend to bullet point. I trust my gut on a lot, but then also sometimes if I'm going to edit, I can go back in and say, you know what, dude, I call myself dude, you went way off on a tangent there. It made no sense. Cut that out or move it. I think people new to editing don't realize not everything is always shot in order. TV shows don't shoot in order. Movies don't shoot in order. And sometimes I don't do the videos in order. Sometimes if I know how I'm going to start a video and end a video, I do the open and the close at the same time. Then I'll go back and I'll do the screen share and then I'll like drop in a voiceover. Then a lot of times I go and watch it through and I'll make a note in like a notebook and write down the B-roll I need. And if I don't have it, I shoot it. And that's something I've actually changed too. And what I've changed is this is not a knock on stock footage companies because I've used them in the past, but I don't subscribe to stock footage anymore. Because my feeling is if I want to do a video of somebody searching for something, then let it just be me or don't use it or use text. And so I become my own B-roll. If I'm talking about a microphone, let me just shoot my own microphone type thing. So that's the process. So I'll shoot it. I use different programs and then I'll edit it if it needs editing. And then from there, I'll go ahead. Typically, I like to finish things. I usually don't like to try and carry it over to another day. Sometimes I feel like it loses the momentum, and sometimes because of family, I don't have an option. So like I'm working on a video now that I don't know if I'll shoot today or tomorrow, but it's taken a little bit more time to put together because it just needs it. A lot of screen grabs. So you know how that is. So what I'll do is then I'll edit it and I'll get it to a point, watch it back, and then I'll go ahead and upload it. And then sometimes in my Apple Notes, I have some of the extra notes I'm going to put into the description. I usually like to try and get it finished, even if I haven't scheduled it at that point. I may go ahead and do the thumbnail. I typically don't do the thumbnail ahead of time, but I may sometimes have an idea. Sometimes I jot it down, and sometimes I've gone to shoot the thumbnail and go, that didn't work at all. What I saw here didn't come out there. So that's the process. And then I
Yeah.
keep a running list of everything. So it's easy to go back and pull from if somebody mentions something, which is another, I think, is a takeaway, is that the more you do this, sometimes you have videos when somebody mentions something, you're like, oh, why don't you watch this? Because I think that'll help you. And it gets them back into your library, which becomes that archive, which I would imagine for you is gold, because I've learned from your videos too.
Yeah, it's interesting with how-to content because unfortunately, I was at my grandmother's funeral yesterday, and one of my family members that I rarely ever see was a woman that honestly I've forgotten her name because we rarely ever see each other, but I know she's in some way extended family. She grabbed my shoulder and I spoke at the funeral, and I thought she was about to say something about what I said or whatever it may be, but she just grabbed me and she whispered, we were about to eat some food, and she said, I just want you to know that I was watching a YouTube video. I was having a problem with my phone, and I was like, hey, he's in my family. And I was like, it's things like that all the time. I don't put my face in it much. Now that I've started doing video for the podcast, I was amazed at how many people now watch the podcast as opposed to listen to it. And now they put a face with a voice, and that's been really neat. But as far as the tools that you use, when you're editing thumbnails, what tools are you using?
I still go to Canva for the most part. I've tried to get away from Canva. I try and run my business, if you will, as frugal as possible. Now, I have been gifted programs over time, and so that helps me keep the cost down as well. Or you're working with a brand and they'll give you the product for a while. But I use Canva. I tried using Keynote for a while, and I liked it to a degree. And I've also tried, even, believe it or not, going into Google Photos, and because you can do some cool things in there, Snapseed on the phone. But I'm a desktop kind of guy. So I would say almost every thumbnail and more has been done in Canva. It's like
Canva is just
easy.
so easy.
Yeah.
And good on mobile as it is on desktop. They're always releasing new features, and it's not sponsored by Canva. I use them for a lot of things that I do in my business. Speaking of being frugal and money, let's talk about that for a minute. Early on, you had that sponsorship with StreamYard, which is a company that kind of I'm familiar with. Talk about the different buckets that you have in your business now where you make money, and maybe give us an estimate of what that amount might be and the percentages and things like that.
Yeah. And I did a video not too long ago, and I think it was like 19 ways I've made money on and off YouTube. And because I was a guest on another show and they wanted me to examine it, it made me step back and go, what are all the ways that I've made it? I would say the bulk of it now, there's AdSense, but AdSense is all over the place, all over the place. Mine is way down now compared to where it was at the end of last year. And that's the way it goes. Coaching, consulting, which I mentioned those separately, but they work together, and that can be one-on-one people. I've done some consulting with nonprofits, which also has been a little speaking. Production, hands-on production, but I've been trying to back out of that over the last year or so. The time-wise, getting older, and quite honestly, there's folks out there that can do it way better than me, way cheaper than I would have to charge. And then along the way, I've done other things like sponsorships and some brand deals. And I've even changed kind of the way I've done that as well. And then I've had just a lot of other piddly things along the way. But I would say probably for the most part, it's coaching, some digital products, courses, since the partner program. And there's other little perks in there as well with that. And some ongoing production. There's still one or two nonprofits that I can't say no to because I've worked for so long. So that's the bulk of it. And it can range from, I've probably made as little as a few hundred a month to several thousand in a month, depending on the time, the deals. I was even, I guess, freelance contract, whatever you want to call it, with another YouTuber and his coaching company for many months. And that was really cool because I worked with him to work with other channels, including some huge channels, numbers I've never seen with that many zeros, helping them think out their strategy and stuff.
Awesome. It's some people hear people's stories on this podcast, and here recently I've had a kind of a litany of guests who are making what some would consider crazy amounts of money. We're talking $30, $40, $50,000 in a month. And people think that's just what everyone is doing. And it's not. And I tell people all the time, the way that the life of an entrepreneur works is that there's a lot of mountaintops and then there's many valleys as well. And being able to traverse those valleys and get back to a mountaintop or whatever it may be is one of the hardest things to do as a creator, and not get so obsessed with the analytics and the data. There'll be some weeks where I book like 10 coaching calls, and then there'll be dead times when 2 weeks will go by and there isn't. Now, here recently it's been a little more consistent as the podcast. You'll see a direct correlation as, like, for you, as your YouTube channel continues to grow, there will be less of that. And as the podcast has gotten more popular and I've done more things to expand my reach, more of those doldrums, they just don't happen as frequently, thank goodness. But it's because of the work I'm putting in. So I don't want to hear this bull about passive income. Yes, there is such thing as passive income, and I'm so tired of hearing it because people just dump everything into passive income, and it's not passive, right?
No, it's not. It's not. And add to that affiliate marketing. And I'll just drop a link and it'll just pour in the money. Typically, no, it doesn't do that. And then also, I've written 2 books. So I don't forget about that. So when you look at that, then it all can help fill the gap. So you have a little downtime here. Maybe this picks up. You sold some more books, which you don't do to get rich. I'm not a Cal Newport or a Seth Godin or somebody like that, but it's still something you can do that gives you sometimes more cred, opens doors as well. But yeah, you're so right. YouTube is flooded with how I made $10,000 in an hour. And so we assume, everybody makes that. No, good for that person if they really did. But at the same time, it's just I haven't had that $50,000 month. I'll be happy to take it, but I haven't had it yet.
What's the hardest part for you about being a creator?
We touched on it earlier, and I'm a solo creator, and there's a lot of it I like about it, but it's also that because I got this from my mother, my late mother, but she could just talk to anybody, anywhere about anything. She was just that kind of person, which as a kid, I was like, Mom, please stop. And then as I got older, I'm like, I kind of like that. And one of the things I still miss to this day about not working in television is I had an amazing creative team. And there would be days when we would go in and instead of working, we'd be talking about the latest Battlestar Galactica episode or something like that, or the movie or something. And just that hanging out and that vibe of even having that creative think tank, if you will, because we were a Fox affiliate and we were more entertainment based. And so we could say, wouldn't it be cool if we did? And be like, let's do it. And we weren't really stopped by anything. And then all of a sudden it's me. And I use AI to a degree, but it's AI. And so I think the hardest thing is that there's not that person to just bounce the ideas off of or go hang out with or go grab coffee with. There are, but at the same time, it's can I manage it in here? And then the other thing is when I was a creative director, I had an assistant. We had graphic artists, producers, social media people, everything. I had a team. Now I'm the team. I've got to do the marketing and the books, which I'm horrible at, and the graphics and the editing. And yeah, you can outsource that. But I also think people outsource too fast. And that's my thing is I want to start, but I got to get an editor. But you need to understand the basics first, I think. So I also enjoy doing it. Maybe it's a control thing. I don't know. So I think those are the hardest things about. And then some days you just hit those like, okay, I can say my name. Beyond that, I can't think of anything. And then you get into the imposter syndrome, which can be real. Even as a believer, it's just like one of those things like, man, I don't know. Does this even matter? Why am I even doing this? That type thing.
There's still days where that happens. I have well surpassed anything that I could ever have imagined. Even just as simple as relationships. Like I have good relationships and I text back and forth with some of the most popular YouTube educators out there. And I don't consider them my competitors. I consider them my friends. Yeah. And I've had what I really equate all of it to, Kevin, is I'm just kind to people, right? I'm not out looking. We live in a very cutthroat society where we're looking immediately to cancel people and this and that. And I just want to help other people succeed. And my dad is a big fan of Zig Ziglar. And that was one of his main things is like, hey, do you want to succeed in life? Will you help others get where they want to go, and you're going to end up climbing to the top where you want to go? And that's really what I try to do, is to help others and to give them a platform. And that's really the antithesis of this show. What trends do you see shaping YouTube as far as new creators come and old creators fall off? What trends are you seeing? What are you hoping for?
Is it fair to say long form? And some trends I think can be here to stay. I think there's the fickle trends. I'm not a shorts fan, not a vertical fan at all. But I do think long form has made a comeback. And I think YouTube on television is part of the reason, is because it's just so easy now on your television. Go ahead.
And podcasts too, right? I think that's where a lot of the viewership is coming from for long form.
Yeah. And I think video podcasting, which I think trips people up, but if you feel called to do a podcast, just turn a camera on, even if it's a webcam, and you'll be surprised. And that can lead to things. I do think AI, we're at that point where almost too much AI can be too much, where it's cutting into the authenticity and I think the realness. And I think that's been a swing for a bit, where we're going to continue to see that, where raw and real, which can even be slightly edited. I think there's just that thing for that. And there's bigger YouTubers that are just like, they're done. Luke with Outdoor Boys just recently said, I'm done on a huge channel, because it just didn't jive with his personal. So I think, are we going to see bigger ones just step away, do other deals? And then I also think more streaming platforms, maybe not Hollywood, but more streaming platforms are going to be, especially now with YouTube on television, I think, making such a splash. They're going to say, maybe these guys have content then we can repurpose. Because if you're watching Peacock or Paramount or Hulu, it doesn't have to always be a 42-minute show or a 52-minute show. It could be like an 18 or a 22, because they're not bound by traditional. So I think those can all be trends that people could really hop on, along with talking to people closer to your age and your likes.
What final message would you give the creators listening to this show, knowing that the demographics of creators that listen to this show scale from haven't even started a channel yet, just in the process of thinking about it, all the way to even millions of subscribers? What would be the kind of final message you would give those folks?
I would say things like, the best thing you can do is literally just create and put it out there. People will say sometimes to me, what do I do for my first video? I don't know what to talk about. And I say, make that your first video. Just make it your first video. Put it out there. Don't shoot it on your phone and then go, look, this is really good. Put it out there, because you never know. People will say, I don't have any views. I've never seen a 0 view video that's public stay 0 views forever, because they'll probably have somebody. I think this idea that it's only young and stuff like that, and that's not to knock on younger generations, because I think everybody has a place at the table and we can all learn from anybody of any age. You're never too old to create. It's never too late. So I always like to say the best time to start was yesterday. The second best time to start is today. So just go with what you've got and just start creating and share your message with others. And you'll be surprised that you'll find at least one person that really needs what you got to say.
I often wonder, Kevin, how many potential great creators, podcasters, whatever, we never got to experience because they couldn't get over the fear of, will I do imposter syndrome? I don't sound right. I don't look right. I'm so thankful that some of my favorite creators went and uploaded that first video.
And why rob people of your gifts by not just using them? Even if you don't know where it's going to go, you may be surprised. I was, when I published that over 40 video, had no idea. I could have been doing something else right now. And instead of, wow, that's opened the door in so many ways.
That's awesome. Kevin Kolbe over on YouTube, and he has been an amazing guest. I will have his links to his YouTube channel as well as his website if you want to connect with him farther. And I tell you what, Kevin, this has been an amazing conversation, and I foresee us doing this in the future. Again, when you've reached 250,000 subscribers, or you channel pivot again, or whatever it may be, we'll have these conversations because you are very well spoken, and I just really appreciate your time today.
Thanks for having me on, man.
And that's a wrap on this week's episode of the YouTube Creators Hub podcast. Don't forget to connect with me if you're looking for a one-on-one coaching or consult for your YouTube channel, podcast, online business. Those links will be in the show notes below. We also have the Creators Corner community where we have exclusive podcast episodes every week. We have a mastermind group. We have mastermind calls. We're actually working on getting some workshops hosted by members of our groups about specific YouTube topics. It's the best bang for your buck in YouTube. $5, it supports the show, and it also helps you in the long run. Then lastly, don't forget to check out our email newsletter. That's where you will be getting that database and spreadsheet of all resources that I've gathered throughout every episode of this show. Thank you as always. Talk to you next week.